Hey everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Scared Shiftless series. If you guys missed the last episode, I recommend seeing it, but what we accomplished is making this first room an obstacle. Jumping right into it, now that we have Bennett Foddy's inspired tree in its place, it's time to move on to the next step, which I guess is figuring out how I want this game to progress. Which I'll be honest, when I say at first, I had no idea, zero, nada on where to start. So what I decided to do was actually play some Getting Over It, and see how Bennett Foddy organized his own game. Starting off in his game, you have the tree, which we already covered in the last episode. The first few obstacles in the game, they're not that tough, but instead, they teach the player how to use the new game mechanic, which is using the mouse to control your hammer. For us, our game mechanic is not being able to shift. After loads of playtesting, looking at crucial detail, and just thinking about Bennett Foddy's game though, I actually managed to categorize the game into a few sections, and here's my dissected results. If you haven't played the game, there will be spoilers, so viewer discretion advised right there. But anyways, there's the tree, which we already covered, that's what you start off. After that, the Ore Man's Valley, which is a practice area to get you started. The Lamppost Ledge, which is a narrow and tall industrial section with steep cliff edges. Then comes the big first risk, which I'm calling the Grill's Fall, a place you most definitely don't want to fail. After this comes the crammed, comfy, cozy section, where everything's a little bit tight and squeezed. You reach Deadly Orange, a place where you can either fall to the Grill's Fall or even back to the beginning, with a perilous, tricky cliff edge jump being the determining factor. This is actually the second greatest threat to speedruns, or even just runs in general.
And then go like...
No! Here we go, let's just... No.
Oh, no, the bounce!
If you manage to peel the orange and move on with your life, there's a steep bat scare. I might just have to include a jump scare myself. After this perilous rocky climb, you enter into what I like to call the death zone. With an atmospheric change, you feel somewhat safe and sound, and you sort of are. There's still a risk of falling, but at this point it's almost like part 2 of the entire game. There are some tricky parts in the Gothic Ice Age section, with now slippery ice mechanics and large hammer launches. Getting past this area, you leap to the floating floating ice balls. I swear I didn't make up these names. Maybe. Anyways, the ice balls do have a risk of falling to the Gothic Ice Age section, and a small risk of falling to Ore Man's Valley. Leaping from the floating ice balls, you're greeted by the snake and the bucket. The snake being the #1 threat to a run, as it's a treacherous fall guaranteed to send you past even the tree's beginnings. And then there's the bucket, which is a dynamic, motion-crazy, horrifying obstacle that can totally get out of control very quickly if you're not careful about it. I mean, being real here, even if you are careful, you're still probably guaranteed to fall off at some point just because of how treacherous it is. If you manage to tame the bucket beast, you're greeted by a slip and slide made purely of ice. At this point, you know you're close to the end, seeing how dark the atmosphere has become. Getting up the ice cliff, you're greeted by the final obstacle, the Radio Tower of Run Killers. This tower is incredibly steep with insanely tight ledges. The chance of falling down the slip and slide are definitely still present at this point. But if you manage to top the tower, you end up in a low gravity floating sensation with a very small chance of failing. The reason the small chance of failing exists is because here, you're higher than the mountain's peak. You've reached the top of the world. You've basically beaten the entire game in a nutshell. So with all this thoroughly dissected though, at this point, I was wondering what to do with all of this key information. There were definitely important points. The most definitely important points that make up this game, I realized, was that there wasn't too many high-risk situations, except a choice couple. Most of the game is made up of medium-risk situations, stacked next to each other to create an overall sketchy and uneasy experience throughout the entire run. Each stage you go up, there's always new and different mechanics, forcing the player to constantly stop, learn, and attempt new features. And finally, the game itself is split into 2 main sections. There's the dry land and the icy land. With all this in mind, It was now time for me to create my own massive course, incorporating all the features I saw in Foddy's game. I decided I would have 12 main game mechanics implemented, each with a specific and unique theme, with an overall atmosphere split 2 ways, and a couple high-risk sketchy situations scattered with a bunch of medium sketchy situations to create an overall, like I said before, uneasy experience. Now knowing this, I decided it would be time to figure out my own game mechanics for my map, and lucky me, I actually found a site with loads of parkour mechanics in Minecraft. Having created loads of parkour maps in the past, I've seen this site many times, and so I wasn't really that lucky, to be honest. Some of the game mechanics listed on the site were classic parkour, vine parkour, there's door parkour, ladder parkour, fence parkour, ice parkour, and of course parkour. There were a lot more mechanics listed as well, but I had already decided I only actually wanted to build the first 2 sections of this parkour course, aside from the already built tree section. The 2 mechanics I decided I would use would be classic parkour, to get the player used to the game mechanics much like Oreman's Valley, and the next one would be ladder parkour and lantern parkour with the possibility of some vines, to recreate the lamppost edge. Having the game mechanics in place meant I now got to choose themes. And instead of telling you what themes I chose, I thought it'd be cool to show you how they turned out. Here's a time lapse of me building the next 2 stages. So now you can see, the first theme was pretty reminiscent of Foddy's first theme with sandy beach rocks, colorful surfboards stuck in the side of the cliff, and the random but fun addition of a train coming out the side of the mountain. And the second theme I chose was very different, as it was an Aztec-like ruins full of overgrown mossy vines, crumbling century-old aged bricks, and also the random addition of a grandfather clock in the midst of a nice cozy library setting. The reason I chose to add some of these more oddly placed features was to try and capture the random aesthetic seen in Bennett Foddy's game, with all the random objects thrown into cohesive sections. There are still other features I even want to add. In this area here, I'd like to put what looks to be an entry to a snowy Narnia-like forest, and over here, I thought about putting a glass fish tank full of kelp and seagrass and whatnot. This is where you guys can tell me through the comments if you like the ideas of adding features like this, or even if you have the ideas for features to be added. But at this point, this was actually sections 1 through 3 done. Because the time-lapse couldn't fully capture all the features and how the parkour would play through, I thought here once again I'd go a bit off script and do some playtesting with you all. Alright, so now off the script though, we are here after we have completed the tree right here, which we have jumped from this glass pane up here. I didn't actually finish, this is my last video, but I'm just gonna skip it for the time being. I know it's possible. We'll go down here. You can't actually skip this part because that would, skip part of the stage, but we go through this little hole and we appear here down at the bottom of the beach right next to this like little canoe thing in the boat. You can see that this path actually leads us to our very first obstacle though, which is up this little sand rock. If we jump up here, there's a ladder we can climb up, and you gotta jump from this block actually to get up on it. You can jump through these fence gates onto the next obstacle, but I'm actually gonna use a little bit of a shortcut I found while I was testing this, if I could get up there. If you jump on the fence post, you can jump here and onto that one, nice, okay. So you guys can see that in the beginning, it's not horrible, it's not too difficult to do, but that's because this is the Oreman's Valley. This is the practice stage. Right here, you do actually have a bit of a head hitter, which since you can't shift, it's a little tough, but, ooh, I'm floating. Whoops, I'm being creative. But if you jump like that, jump onto the pot, there we go, we're on to the next stage, and now onto the surfboard. So right here, we'll go ahead and take a running jump and keep our momentum. Oh, nice. If you don't keep your momentum right there, it actually gets it's really hard to make that jump. Anyways, we'll jump over here and you can see there's a nice glow effect showing us to go here. Here's another head hitter that can actually take you down to the beginning, so fingers crossed. Nice, we actually get past that. Then there's another head hitter, but I give you a half block of space right here to give you a little bit more wiggle room to get through there. There we go. Now we're on the very edge, and this is where it gets sketchy because you can't shift, so you just have to take very small. I'm just like pressing my the A key over and over again very gently because I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to mess that jump up. Right here I think is another head hitter. Love those, but we got it. This decorational piece, this trapdoor, actually wasn't here before. I'm gonna delete that because otherwise that jump's not possible. Whoopsie. This is why we playtest. This is why we playtest. If we come up here, it's a bit of a head hitter jumper. Ooh, I almost messed up. head hitter jumper again onto this vine that was hanging right there, and I messed up. So now I got to do all this part again, because that's what happens in Scared Shiftless. You mess up once, you got to do it all over again. Okay, and we are back to the vine. As you guys can see, things can escalate very quickly if you mess up. Oh, and I almost messed up again right there. But I got all the way back to the beginning. And no, maybe there's too many head hitters to start off with. I don't know, but I'm just going to keep play testing and go with it. Oh, man. Okay, but we are back again to the vine section. That is why a decorational piece that I added, and I'm falling down, was getting in the way, and that jump wasn't actually possible. There you go. Now, that was so much easier that try. This is why I play test before I allow other people to play, because otherwise everyone would hate me for it being impossible. But, oh my gosh, that vine jump is a tough one for sure. For testing and time purposes though, now I'm actually gonna just go ahead and fly up to this jump so that I can just get it. I know it's possible, but I'm stinking right now, and one day I'll stream this in the future and show you guys, and I'll stream it over on my Twitch. Why can I not? That's interesting, because you're actually supposed to be able to get that full height right there. I think that there are a lot of features in here I should have tested not on camera, because the other words, that jump I don't think is possible either. Wow, okay. Anyways, you go from there, once you get past that vine jump. Wow, I'm kind of annoyed about all those attempts now. You get over here, and you have to make a kind of sketchy jump right here on the very edge, around the corner like that, up onto this ledge up here, and you crawl up here. And this is where I was talking about earlier, when you get to the lantern section of the game. You've got those very tight edges, those tight walls right here. There's a hole right there that you can fall down. So now we're going to experience that a lot, especially with the lanterns. On these things, you got to be very careful and move very slowly. But then you can jump from there onto these vines, get on this lantern. And going around this is very sketchy, because it's super easy to fall off, as you just saw right there. You have to take very small taps. I'm saying the word very a lot, aren't I? But that's okay. So let's jump up here again and go around. Very nice. Careful. If we go up here, do the same thing. I'm just tapping ever so slightly. Nice. Okay, I'm on. And then I got to get around this corner too, ever so slightly. Nice. Okay, cool. Now we'll go ahead and jump onto this trap door. I don't think there's any blocks above my head, so that's good. We got on the trap door. We'll jump around onto the vines. And now with chest, that actually creates a very small pixel-like gap right there that we can go around. Perfect. Hello, scaly head. That's one of the details. I got a lot of small details like that you can't see from the outside. So I thought it would be fun to do this like this playthrough, so you guys could see all the smaller details on the inside. If we get up here, we go around onto this trapdoor, which this is also a jump I don't like, because you can fall all the way back down. Okay, that is one of the bigger risks in the game for sure. So let's try that again. Oh, and we fell straight onto the chest again. Okay, third time's a charm. I think it's my third time at least. Nope, and we fell all the way to the beginning. That is why this game is going to be so incredibly tough. But to show you guys the rest of the gameplay, I'm going to come up here and just fly on up. Don't judge me too harshly, please. But there we go. Okay, we got onto the edge right here. Now we're supposed to jump onto this trapdoor right here. And we can actually jump around the corner onto the ladder. Perfect. And then there's this last hanging vine, which is super sketchy to do, because you can do that. I'm just demonstrating how to fail all these. I promise you guys that. I'm going to remove this block, because that block wasn't there originally. I added it for decorational purposes. Let's see now. Ah, there we go. Okay, that's how you do the jump. And from right here, you gotta jump. Oh my gosh. I promise you guys that I didn't think about these leaves and the decorational features. I do the parkour and then I add all these decorational features that end up messing up the gameplay. This is again why I test stuff. Like right here, I'm pretty sure, I think that's supposed to be like that. Yeah, because you jump around like that and then you go over here. There's another hole where you can fall all the way back down. But then that's it. And you would move on to the theoretical fourth section, which we don't have yet. Before I officially release this, I will have I guess I'll do a practice stream, just so you guys can see me struggle through the whole thing and actually beat it 100% legitimately. But at that time, I'll have playtested and made sure everything's actually possible too. But that just kind of shows you guys how it's going to be. It's going to be a very fun, very detailed course with lots of difficult jumps and, you know, the chance of always falling down back to the beginning. As you guys saw happen many times, I fell to the beginning multiple times. With that said though, that was the practice run through right there, and that was actually the second and third section built. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe because it really does help me out. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the Shiftless, the Scared Shiftless series part 3, where we start doing a lot more building, a lot more atmospheric stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and ciao!